I'll just highlight key information, and we're going to use the highlighting to make you see the relationships a little bit better. So we did skew lines at the beginning of the 6 weeks. They're non-complanar, so they're not on the same plane. They are not parallel, and they do not intersect. Okay? Parallel lines, most of you already know that. Two lines in the same plane, so they are coplanar, but they do not intersect. We are also already familiar with the symbol. Okay, we're also familiar with arrows being used to indicate the lines are parallel. We've already talked about that. When you have a three-dimensional shape, or you have more than one set of lines, make sure you know that matching set of arrowheads on lines show that those pair are parallel. Because you're going to see on your example today, you're going to have one set with the lines marked and one not. This might be new to show not parallel. We just draw a line through the parallel symbol. Okay. So over here, in the example that was given to you, they've already marked it because they showed the arrows. Okay. All right. This is what? And this is indicating that line L is parallel to M with that arrow. And it's also showing you that K is not parallel because they would intersect M or L if we extend it out. All right. Parallel planes, same thing. We did that earlier this 6 weeks. Planes that do not intersect. Now, this is the one that's probably new, transversal. Okay. Transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines in the same plane at different points. The key thing is at different points for it to be a transversal. Okay, so in the example that you have over here, line M is intersecting through lines L, K, P, and Q. But it's only a transversal for L and K. Because if I'm going to, on here, let's just show the points of intersection. So add a point to show the point of intersection. If I look right here, we have two different points of intersection with L and K. Does that make sense? But over here, with Q and P, I have one point of intersection. To be a transversal, it has to have two different points of intersection. So understand that this intersection is at one point. So not a transversal. For P and Q. I ran out of room. When it's at 2 points, it is a transversal. Alright, so we're going to look at several sets of angle pairs, new angle pairs, and angle relationships that we're going to add on to what we already know about linear pair, vertical, supplementary, complementary, are those that we used this 6 weeks. So what I want you to do kind of help you see the angle pair, and I know this picture probably needs to be repeated, but I'm going to go ahead and just highlight my interior. The interior is going to be between the lines, between my two sets of lines, okay? And I'm going to highlight my exterior, if it'll come out a different color. Let's try that. Okay, so we know that we have the interior and the exterior. And I'm going to go ahead and name our lines. We're going to have Y, X, and Z. Of the three lines, which line would represent the transversal? Y. okay, because it's intersecting at 2 different points, okay? All right, so when we identify our angle pairs or types of angles, it's going to be a relationship to the transversal at times, and also in its relationship between the 2 other points. So if I'm talking about an exterior angle, we're talking about any angle outside the lines. So what would be our examples of exterior angles? 4 would be an exterior angle. What other? 5, yeah. 1 and 8, yes, okay? Yeah. So everything that's outside the lines would represent exterior angles. Interior angles would be between the 2 lines. So 2, 3, 7, and 6, yeah, okay? Alright, so first is understanding when they're interior and exterior, and then we're going to look at their relationship in regards to the transversal. Now, consecutive interior angles. Consecutive means they come right after each other, you know, like 1, 2, 3, like consecutive numbers. Another way, to look at consecutive interior is same side interior. So when I mean same side, they're on the same side of the transversal, okay? 7 and 6, yeah, 7 and 6 would be consecutive interior because they're inside, in between the lines. Or I could say 2 and 3. Does that make sense? So I would list 7 and 6, or 2 and 3. Now I'm going to keep this figure up so you can answer the types on the next page, okay? So if you go to your next page, it's going to be in relationship to this figure. And I'm going to keep it on the smartboard so you can see it. Now, alternate exterior. Alternating means we're going to alternate, the transversal. We're going to go on opposite sides of the transversal, okay? So, but if I want to say alternate exterior angles, I'm still going to look outside the lines, but we're going to look at opposite sides of the transversal. So which, 6 is interior. We want exterior. Yeah, 1 and 5, and 8 and 4. Okay, so go ahead and record those for your alternate exterior angles. 1 and 5, because 1 is on the top left, 5 is at the bottom right, and they alternate the transversal, which was our Y, and 8 and 4. Okay, 1 and 5, 8 and 4. One and 5, 8 and 4. Now, if I have alternate exterior, I also have alternate interior angles. 2 and 6, 7 and 3. Okay.
Same and then alternate.
Opposite, yes, yeah. Consecutive means the same, like, yeah, left, both on the left side, both on the right, and alternate, yeah, means opposite, yeah. Okay, so corresponding. Now, this is the one where most students kind of struggle with. Oops. Because I think that's the next one they give you, right? All right. To help you break it down, it needs to be on the same side of the transversal, okay? And in matching positions, okay, for each of the 2 intersecting lines. So think of same side, matching position. So if I look at
1 and 3.
yes, 1 and 3 would be corresponding because they're both on the left side and they're both above the line. Does that make sense? They're formed with the transversal and line X. Transversal. Yeah, above their specific line. Yeah. So 2 and 4 would be corresponding. 8 and 6, and then 7 and 5. Okay. So there's more of all the angle pairs and the types you have. Corresponding are the ones you have the most of. Okay, so I think same side of the transversal, matching positions. Did y'all get your corresponding? 1 and 3, same side. 2 and 4, same side and same position. 8 and 6, and then 7 and 5. Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah, one would be exterior, one would be interior. Yeah. Mhm. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to alternate some things. Same side of the transversal. No, same side of the transversal. So first check that they're on the same side of the transversal. And then check to make sure they're in the same position with the other lines. So like if I'm looking at 2, 2 is below the line, so 4 has to be also below the line.
2 and 5, 4 and 9, they're on
Different sides. Yeah, they're on opposite sides. Yeah. Okay. So they both have to be on the left side, both have to be on the right side, and then the same position. Okay. This, to help you see this, we're going to do this. We're going to label A, B, C, and D. We have 4 lines here that are intersecting. Okay. They want us to identify the type of angles are given and state the transversal forming each pair. Okay, so that's important, being able to recognize their relationship based on the transversal. So if I'm looking at 8 and 4, first let's identify the transversal. Who would be the transversal for 8 and 4? C. C is the transversal. Okay. Then what's the relationship with the transversal and A and B? What type? Yeah, we're going to abbreviate. Alternate, ALT, EXT, and then the symbol for angle. They are alternate exterior. Alright. Because C is the transversal, and they alternate, and they're both outside A and B.
Oh.
Okay?
Angle 8, 4.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Alright.
So those 10 and 11 are all interior?
Yeah, those are, well, yeah, they're all interior. Alright, so 6 and 12. So I'm looking at 6 and 12. Who would be the transversal for 6 and 12? B is the transversal, okay? And then what's the relationship with their transversal? They're alternate and they're interior. They're in between C and D. So this would be alternate interior. Alright, let's look at 10 and 11. D would be the transversal.
The same side. Consecutive interior.
You could say same side interior, so we just do SSI for same side interior. Or I can say consecutive interior. Okay. Ooh, sorry. Yes.
12 is interior?
No, 11 and 10.
No, he's talking about 6 and 12.
Yeah, 6 and 12 are interior of C and B. That's why it's important to know which one is the transversal.
Oh, because B, C, and D.
Yeah, they're in between C and B. All right, what about 16 and 4? What's the transversal? It doesn't have one, so this would be no correlation. Okay, because they don't have a common transversal between them. 16 has the transversal A, and 4 has the transversal B. They have to have the same transversal to. Yeah, they have to have a common transversal between them. All right, 16 and 8. Who's the transversal for? A is the transversal, and then corresponding. 14 and 16. D is the transversal, and they are also corresponding. Okay, they're on the same side of the transversal in the same position. Okay. Alright, so we are going to use what we know about angles, okay, to find missing measurements. Now we know vertical and we know linear pairs, so we should be able to figure this out. But you're going to see a pattern, and this happens when the lines are parallel. So first it says if P is parallel to Q. So if it is, I'm just going to go ahead and put my arrows on there. And the measure of angle 1 is 75. Okay, can everyone else, we agree this is not to scale? Yes. Okay, so we're okay. We're still going to work it out, but it's just not to scale because 75 is acute and that angle looks obtuse. And that's why we don't assume measurement, okay? All right, so if angle 1 is 75, they want us to find all the measures formed by the parallel lines cut by the transversal. So automatically we should be able to get who?
7.
Yeah, 7 because it's vertical, that's congruent.
And 1.
And 1, yeah, so we got 5. 3 and 5,
Yeah.
it's also going to be 75.
And you can get 8 subtract.
Yeah, get 8 to 180, so we get 105. So now it's same for 102, right? I mean for measure angle 2. And then 6. 95 and 105.
Another one.
Alright, did you notice the pattern?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the pattern?
All the odds of the same angle and all the.
Okay. Alright, if I'm looking on the figure, what's the pattern on the figure?
They're 75, 105, 75, 105, 105, 75.
Yeah, vertical angles. Do you see that the pattern on the top of the line with the transversal is exactly the same at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, this happens with parallel lines, okay? The pattern is going to repeat. So use the pattern to find the missing angles, okay? All right. Now, what time do we get out of here? After 11. All right, so now, you're going to have 4 new postulates, but they're not that hard because the relationship is still the same, okay? Corresponding angle postulate, that's 1. And then 2, we have alternate interior angle theorem, exterior angle theorem, and consecutive angle theorem, which I like to just call same side interior angle theorem. Now, this is the special relationship that you have to memorize with parallel lines, and there's just 2 things that you have to memorize. Only 2 things can occur. If they're corresponding angles, the lines are parallel and they get cut by a transversal, the corresponding angles are always congruent. So angle 1 would be congruent to angle 2. Okay? Well, this same relationship happens with alternate interior angles. If the lines are parallel, they cut by a transversal, alternate interior are going to be congruent. Well, if they're alternate interior congruent, then the exterior are going to be congruent as well. Okay? So the only different relationship that occurs is with same side interior or consecutive. They're not congruent. Guess what they're going to be? They're not congruent. They're going to be supplementary. Okay? So it's going to either always be equal or it's going to be equal to 180. Okay? Now, let's just kind of make our conclusions because you're going to have to practice this a little bit more. Yeah. If I tell you that the lines are parallel, so if this is given, you got to have that given. And then I see that I have corresponding angles, okay? Then my statement I can make is angle 1 is going to be congruent to angle 2. Yeah, that's because of corresponding angle postulate. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Well, if I tell you that the lines are parallel, that has to be given. Then the alternate interior angles, angle 3, is going to be congruent to angle 4. Okay, AIA theorem.
These are just the definitions and conclusions.
Yeah, these are the definition and conclusions to the theorems that we just went over.
Okay.
All right, so same thing with alternate exterior. You must have the lines being parallel given before you can make the conclusion that they are congruent if we have alternate exterior. So angle 5 would be congruent to angle 6, alternate exterior angle theorem. Again, we must have the lines are parallel first, be given. And they are cut by transversal. Then angle 7 and angle 8 are supplementary. That's the consecutive angles theorem. I can make another conclusion or statement from the fact that 7 and 8 are supplementary. What does supplementary mean? 180. So I can say angle 7 plus angle 8 equals 180. Definition of supplementary. Alright, so you see how now they show just the arrows? Okay, so what are they telling us about these lines? They're parallel. And then we have a line cutting through both of them, so it's a transversal. So this assumes, so mark a dot anywhere. So I'm going to put this dot on the left side of the transversal. Then find its vertical angle and mark that. So that would be here. And then I can repeat it, right? Because we saw that pattern just on the ones before. I can use this relationship to saying that if both have the same dot or both are blank, they're going to be congruent. Anything with the same marking is going to be congruent. If one has a dot and the other is blank, so like if I'm looking at angle 1 and angle 2, one has a dot, one does not, then it's supplementary. If they're different, then it's going to be supplementary, or we're going to use equal 180. Okay? So in our example, it says if segment DC is parallel to segment AB, so I'm going to go ahead, draw my arrows. If they are parallel, are the angles listed going to be congruent or supplementary? That's what they want to check to see if you can recognize. So I'm going to give you time to practice that, see if you can identify, understand that FE is a transversal, and then follow the name of the angle and determine if those two pairs of angles would be congruent or supplementary.